be logging on, and it's a little after 6. I want to be mindful and respectful of everybody's time, and we know Team Mehta has a hard stop at 7, so we want to make sure we give a lot of time for some community discussion and Q&A. Well, welcome. My name is Toral Patel. I am the co-chair of the South Asian American Caucus. It's really wonderful to see some familiar faces, some new faces, and just to have you all spend some time with us at the caucus, but also with Team Mehta. We know everybody has a lot going on these evenings, and as we get inch our way closer to November, it's tighter and tighter on scheduling. So we really are grateful for you guys giving us some time today. You'll hear more about the caucus in a few minutes, but let me first thank Rupande for also giving us her time, because as a candidate, 26 days out, it's hard. So thank you. And a very special thank you to our co-hosts for tonight, Dr. Kyati Joshi, Afshin Shamsi, Ritesh Shah, Shreya Mahatwa, and Wasim Khan. Thank you all so much for your time and your effort in really reaching out into the community and into constituents. This year and the election are like nothing we've ever seen before. This is why the South Asian American Caucus has been hosting a series of what we call power hours to really connect candidates across New Jersey with constituents and also with the South Asian American community, because our voices matter and our vote matters. This year, as we all know, every registered voter in New Jersey will receive a vote by mail ballot. Every registered voter has the opportunity to vote early and to track their ballot. So we really, really are encouraging everybody to vote early, get it in, track your ballots, and then help others in the community to do the same. We'll put the New Jersey website that has a great set of information and can help answer any of your questions about the vote by mail process, ballot boxes, contacting your county clerk, how to track, and all of those really important pieces. We'll put that in the chat so you guys have that as a reference. It's a really great resource, so please feel free to share it widely. Let me now ask our amazing co-chair, Afshin, to just share a little bit about our caucus and to introduce our next speaker. Afshin?
Thank you, Thoral. So it's wonderful to be here with all of you today to support Rupande Mehta for State Senate. The South Asian American Caucus was one of the first caucuses formed under Chairman Curry's leadership of the New Jersey Democratic State Committee, whose vision was to engage historically marginalized communities in the political process. Over the last 7 years, SAAC has taken the charge very seriously and has hosted numerous events to not only engage, but also empower the New Jersey South Asian American community in the political arena. I want to give a shout out to SAAC's founding co-chairs, Dr. Kyati Joshi and Satish Pundi, who have laid a strong foundation for our community to benefit from in the political process. Also, it's an honor for me to co-chair SAAC along with my awesome co-chair, Thoral Patel, who has done a wonderful job of leading this particular event. Thank you, Thoral. And our fabulous steering committee members, many of whom are here joining us tonight. Thank you, Milan Rao, Raja Bhattacharya, Sharik Ahmed, Nitin Akhija, and Rekha Nandwani for your leadership and for all your help with this event. Finally, special thanks to Sam Bison from the New Jersey Democratic State Committee and SAAC's very own Milan Rao for their help with this event. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Adit Roy, who is going to introduce Rupande. As a young man, Adit never saw South Asians running for office and was inspired to intern for Rupande's campaign because if elected, she would be the first South Asian American woman elected to the state legislature. We're very excited about that too, Adit, and we look forward to calling her Senator Mehta soon. Take it away, Adit.
All right. Hey, all. I'm truly grateful to be here tonight with so many amazing South Asian leaders. I think it's important to acknowledge the progress that's being made here in New Jersey, thanks to groups like the South Asian American Caucus. You know, as Afshin was saying, growing up in the suburbs of New Jersey as a son of 2 immigrants and as a South Asian kid, I rarely ever saw people that looked like me run for office, let alone get elected. But like over the years, I've had the opportunity to see leaders from underrepresented groups like Senator Cory Booker, State Senator Vin Gopal, Assemblyman Raj Mukherjee, Mayor Sadaf Jaffer, just to name a few of the advocates in our community. So with one of the fastest growing South Asian populations, however, only 2 South Asian representatives in the state legislature represent the South Asian community in New Jersey. So it's clear that there still is a lot of work to be done. That's why seeing Rupande run for state senate this year has been truly, truly inspirational. If elected, she would become the first South Asian woman elected to the New Jersey state legislature. So whether it's connecting with volunteers at yard sign parties or speaking about issues directly impacting underrepresented groups in the district, I've seen firsthand her passion for uplifting voices from all backgrounds. So with less than 30 days to go, it's important that we all continue to work hard, talk to our friends and family, and amplify voices for change like Rupande's in our community. So I'm truly honored to introduce our next speaker and candidate for state senate in LD 25, Rupande Mehta. Take it away.
Thank you, Adit. Oh, wow. I'm so touched. Wow, those beautiful words. Thank you so much. And it's an honor. It's an honor to be here. Toral, you are not only a friend, you are somebody I look up to. You are an advisor. I come to you when I want to tear my hair out. And so I am grateful for that. Afshin, the work that you do is inspirational for all of us. So I'm so truly grateful that I'm here. And of course, Milind and Raja, Kathy, all of you, I'm very grateful that you are on my side, because with friends like these, we really can do a lot of good work, and I'm very proud of all the work that you do, and I look up to you for all of that. So hello, everybody. My name is Rupande Mehta, and I am running to serve in the New Jersey State Senate. I have spent the past several years reaching out to voters in my community and hearing what they have to say. And one thing is very clear. This district, District 25, is ready for a new leader, a leader who shares our values, who will go to Trenton and not come back empty-handed, and will fight for us. We are at a point in time where the state of our democracy is under attack. And when I say those words, it gives me no pleasure to say that, but I can absolutely tell you that there is no hyperbole in that sentence. We need strong, progressive leadership that will fight for everyday working families and protect our values. We're living through some very unprecedented times, and we need to make sure that the people we send into office are people who work for us, and not people who are part of a political machine or not part of a political dynasty, that they go there to fight for working families. My story personally is a story of dreams. Born and raised in Mumbai, India, I came to the United States in 2002 in search for a better life. Leaving behind a life of emotional, sexual, physical, psychological, you name it, abuse. I came searching for freedom and survival and economic independence. After getting my MBA in 2004, I came to New York and I started working in the corporate sector. In 2008, I married my husband, and in 2012, we had our only daughter, Sophie. It was one of the proudest moments of my life. When I look back at that point, I had come a long way. It never seemed to me that I would be able to travel this distance with this sort of sanity. Giving birth to my daughter was one of those realizations where I said to myself, I am okay now. I'm okay, I'm good, and I can keep moving forward. It was, needless to say, one of the proudest moments of my life. In 2017, I had the second proudest moment of my life, where I raised my right hand and took an oath to become an American citizen. Shortly after that, because of what transpired in 2016, I was a new wave of politically engaged women and men and ran for Morris County freeholder, coming within 2 points of winning the county. And if anybody who knows Morris knows that that is a feat that has not happened in nearly 40 years. That was the last time we had a Democratic freeholder on the board. That was the time I sort of started looking at everything going around, and I said, you know what, this district is ready for somebody new. It's time for new representation. It's time to change the district's leaders and to turn the page on what's been going on for so many years. I am running primarily because I believe representation matters. Across the country, everybody is trying to elect firsts. Yet, as Adit just briefly mentioned earlier, if elected, I will become the first South Asian woman ever elected to the New Jersey legislature. It's 2020. It's about time we elect people who look like us, who represent us, who follow the values and share the values that we do. When I look at the current state of our legislature, I see a lack of women. I see a lack of women of color. I see a lack of members who are working to change the status quo and who are working to fight for progressive values. This is why I am running. And now more than ever, I am ready to take on the political machine in this district. It is time to oust the most conservative member of the state legislature. And I think most of the people on this call are very well aware of Jay Weber. And Tony Bucco ranks more conservative than Jay Weber. And just this year, as our nation faces such unprecedented times, we watched as my opponent failed our community. He ran around the state not wearing a mask, mocking basic science, mocking the governor for the work he was doing, for listening to data and for listening to experts, and calling to open the state up with no regard for public health or safety, and the countless New Jerseyans tragically lost to COVID-19. I am running to stand up for New Jersey families from all walks of life. And if elected this November, I will work with both sides of the aisle to ensure that I fight for all constituents. This is not about Democratic or Republican for me. This is only about an independent voice who goes to the state Senate, an independent voice who will lead with sensible leadership, who believes in survival and thriving of the constituents in the district, who will not sacrifice any more lives, will listen to data and science. We deserve a leader who will fight for us every day, who will be accessible to us, and who will lead with common sense. With your support this November, I hope to be that leader. I am very grateful to SAAC and for everybody else who has taken time from their day this evening to be with us. Thank you very much, and I look forward to any questions or discussions that we would like to have now.
Thank you, Rupande, so much. And Adit, thank you so much. Yeah, let's open it up to some Q&A. If you have a question you'd like to ask, just let us know in the chat box and we will ask you to unmute. Wasim, are you up? Did you want to ask a question? I see you.
Yes, certainly. Thank
do.
you, Carol. And I'm always so inspired when I hear Rupande. I mean, she's like an authentic, legitimate candidate. She's not somebody who's putting up because we need a South Asian or we need colored people or women or whatever. She's a one hell of an authentic person, and she means it. You know, she wants to serve, and she will be a great asset to our state Senate. Who knows, someday maybe to US Congress. So, I mean, we're lucky to already have one young man in Win Gopal, who fortunately for me, I met him many years back when he came with the presidential candidate, Dennis Kucinich, who then was considered the conscience of United States Congress or conscience of America, American political establishment. So he and Mrs. Kucinich, who actually has worked in Agra in Mother Teresa's ashram, so they were both here, and it was so nice to meet Win then, and lo and behold, I mean, things happen. I mean, he beat the rising star and incumbent of that district, you know, of the Republican side. So that is quite an accomplishment, and he has maintained an incredible record of public service in last 3 or 4 years, you know, which is outside of the state Senate, you know. So he does so much work. I know where he gets the time, you know. I mean, he has his work, he has his job, he has assembly. But anyway, I don't want to take without.
I was going to say, Wasim, yeah.
So we have incredible examples. My question, I think there are only two things certain, they say. It's not my code, and that is taxes and debt. And luckily for us, we have a president who has shown us the way. Only $750 in taxes. So on a lighter side, actually, and I don't know how much seriously it should be taken, that there should be perhaps a Trump law or something that you will only pay taxes no more than the president pays, you know, federal taxes, and everything else goes to state taxes. But that was just to get what an incredible time we are living in. It is so bizarre, you know. But let me get serious here. and ask Rupande a question about NJ tax problem. NJ has a tax problem. A lot of people leave when they're close to retirement, go to tax havens, places like Florida. My sister is looking for a home there, etc. So federal policies of this administration haven't helped. We know that very well. Tax breaks for rich and all that we heard. So what is working in Trenton to address, for Rupande, the question is, what is working in Trenton to address the tax burden to working families, and what can be remedied so we don't continue to build a greater divide between the classes? Rupande, I'm sorry for it took so long.
Oh, that's okay. Before I begin, I'd just like to give a quick shout out to my friend who's on this call, Ritesh Shah. Ritesh, thank you for joining us. I know you're a very busy man, so it's gives me great pleasure to see you here today. Thank you for your time, and thank you for being a co-host for this event as well. Sincerely appreciate all your help.
I'll
and
see
support.
you again on a Friday in person.
Yes, you're not going to see each other a lot now.
So
I
many
have a feeling.
friends, so many good friends like Milind, Dr. Khan, Jay, who's phenomenal. So thanks everyone. Rupande, you have support all the way from Monmouth and throughout, and
Thank
we'll
you.
make sure until the last day that whatever financial support, which is very important. I learned one thing from Win was bodies and money count. So, Thurl, thank you for putting it together.
Good to see you, Ritesh. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. So Wasim, thank you for your question. So a couple of things. One is, yes, there is, taxes are an issue in New Jersey. I think everybody is, quite up in arms about that issue. Morris County, particular, has, a very high tax rate, and we've seen that. I'm not sure if I completely agree with your statement about people leaving New Jersey. I think New Jersey has opportunities. New Jersey has, the best places to work. New Jersey has a great workforce, and there is a myth out there that people leave New Jersey to go to Florida and those places. A recent example that I'd like to give you is, I forget his name, but this a billionaire who was in New Jersey for a while and left to Florida, and he's coming back. He's coming back to New Jersey because he misses, the environment. He misses what is good about New Jersey. That is the people, that is the workforce, that is the opportunities that we can have here. And you are no stranger to the pharmaceutical industry that we have around us, and the ample amount of diverse and smart, intelligent workforce that we are blessed with, especially in this county and in this area. That being said, taxes is an issue. I will not deny that. And I think one of the biggest things we need to do is invest more in shared services. Give you another example. The district over, I believe it's 24, Senator Cody's district, is it 21 or 24? They are currently investing a fair bit in shared services. And by shared services, towns coming together and agreeing to pull together resources for basic services, thereby saving money. That is one way to save money, to see if you can reduce taxes. And that district, over the past year, only in 2019, they were able to save up to over, I believe, over $17 million. So, and the reason, I mean, Governor Murphy has been very vocal and open about wanting to use shared services. He is also appointed a shared services czar, and he has promoted very widely the use of shared services. We need legislators who go to Trenton who are interested in sort of working with the governor, so that these sort of benefits and advantages can be brought back to the district. So that's number one. Number two is also, you look at schools, right? You do need to centralize, not decentralize, the administrative core of schools. We have so many districts in this state, and each district has its own set of bureaucracy. There is a way to save money there as well, and I know that has a lot of support. I believe that not too long ago, the LD11 group, the two assemblymen and our favorite senator, they all advocated support court for central. I keep saying decentralized, centralize the the bureaucratic core in schools. These are ways that we need to push for and try and work with people to get this sorted. The problem, and I don't mean to get political here, but the problem is that the senator we have in this district right now, he has not shown any interest towards any of these things. He has worked tirelessly for the corporations that give him money, that fund him, and for the PACs that give him money and that fund him. And I mean, when you look at his voting record, it just boggles my mind, because I try to find some sort of pattern then, some sort of common sense into why he has voted the way he has voted, and I can't find anything. And I consider myself to be a relatively, smart person, and I just cannot find what is the reasoning behind voting the way he votes. And the answer is simple. The answer is just to use his family name to stay in power and not worry about anything else. So we need to get rid of leaders like that, who are not really leaders, because they're really pulling us back at this point. It's the opposite of progress here happening. So electing somebody who wants to work, who wants to understand the issues and take time in solving them, is the first step towards really finding a whole bunch of solutions to problems that we think are big, but may not necessarily be, because we have the will to do so. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you.
Doral, it looks like we have we have a question from Richard. Richard,
Yep.
to ask a question.
Hi, Ms. Mehta, if it's okay if I introduce myself to everybody. I was actually requested to attend this meeting by Bijay Chakrabarti. So Bijay, thank you for inviting me. I'm so happy to be here. I've been aware of New Jersey politics for quite some time. Jay Weber is he's a joke. And it is. I'm actually doing a digital organizing internship in California for someone who's running a grassroots campaign. She's a very, very strong young woman, many of the same qualities, and her opponent is just doing the exact same kind of stuff. Just sucking up to the corporation PACs that are funding him just to keep himself in Congress. There's no awareness of what's going on in society. But my question, though, is, you kind of pre-answered one of my questions about, the New Jersey tax system and, property taxes so high in some of the investments we need to make. But I did want to ask, in terms of, the COVID situation, we need contact tracing. We need data. We need a reliable way of doing this. And, Governor Murphy, fortunately, is one of the governors who has made up his mind. He's not going to suck up to Donald Trump. He's going to take the right stance, even if Trump threatens to sue him, whatever. But if I may ask, though, are there any things that you think that we can do now and in the future with contact tracing or preventative care that maybe we haven't done already? Or do you see is there anything that you would suggest to Governor Murphy if you were elected to do to help make this, progress more effectively?
Well, I think Governor Murphy is doing the right thing. He's on the right path here. And I think the number one thing that we need to do at all times is listen to the experts. And if the experts are suggesting that this is the path forward and this is how we do contact tracing and this is how we open up the state step by step, I think that is the way to go here. I don't claim to be I'm not a medical person. I don't have a medical degree. I would probably call Dr. Khan at that point and say, Wasim, what do I need to do here? What is your advice? But I think, there is a very clear choice, Richard, and I thank you for asking this question, because I think that this is again a point of great sort of differences between myself and my opponent is that there is one side that is literally the party that is trying to keep you alive, and again, I don't mean to exaggerate. This is not hyperbole. This is we are here trying to wear a mask and make sure that we follow social distancing guidelines and we follow basic science. And then we have the other side that is literally wanting to throw everything out of the window. My commitment to this whole thing is that I would listen to experts and I would try to identify and not haphazardly open the state, which are all the things that my opponent has advocated to do. Now, at this point, we're seeing the rate of transmission go back up again in New Jersey. And we saw that New York is trying to again selectively close down. we are going to most likely come into a position if we don't heed advice where we will have to shut everything down. So the important thing in my opinion, and the only thing that I'm going to follow, is I will listen to the experts, I will see what they say, and I will follow that to the T. Because there cannot be any sort of economic prosperity without proper public health. One, it's going to suffer if you try to do one without the other. So we have to make sure that they both go hand in hand, and that's the only way that we can get out of this virus in a safe way without sacrificing any more lives.
Everybody keeps saying like it's a dual force between economics and the virus, and it isn't, because you can't have an economy without people, and you can't have an economy without healthy people.
Exactly. Well said.
Thank you for the great question.
Yeah, thank you.
And thank you for joining us. Are you currently in California or are you in New Jersey?
No, I'm in New Jersey. Of course, because of the COVID situation, everything is digital. Vijay and I are actually both also interns for the Borgen Project. We're working a lot to do fundraising and congressional outreach for global poverty reduction.
Yeah.
But I've always had an interest in the political process, and I've lived in New Jersey since 1988. So and my parents are both government workers. My mom even worked for state legislature as a staffer and a chief of staff for quite a few years. So I've been pretty strongly aware of what's going on. So thank you for doing what you're doing. We need more people like you in government.
Of course. And I'd like to give a shout out to Vijay as well. He's one of our star interns. He does a lot of good work for us. Vijay, you're not, there you are. Yeah. So thank you for joining, and thank you for, being so involved in the campaign and helping us out. We're very grateful for everything that you do.
By the way, on COVID, if I may, I'm reachable to anybody on this call or anyone else who has a question on COVID. I have given actually a presentation to my group of physicians. I was one of the 4 who presented based on the data that was available back in March. And I continue to follow up on all aspects of COVID. Including treatment, vaccines. If you have any questions about any of those, even a more sophisticated question that if in case you happen to be in health industry, I'll be happy to answer that.
And while we're waiting for others to maybe raise their hand or ask, you touched on something, Rupande, that's actually very near and dear to me, right? As a mom of 3 boys in the public school system, our world has been upended, right, for now 7 months, and it's a real challenge. And so what's been really troubling is this situation has also shed a light on what you sort of were alluding, like there's just dysfunction in our administration of our public schools. There's a lot of bureaucracy, there is little accountability and little support for our teachers, to be really honest, is what we're seeing a lot of over and over again. And I'm in, what's considered a pretty privileged community. So I'm really concerned about the inequities across, the school system. And as much as we were just named, the best public school system in the country, the reality is there are many issues that we have to address in this state, which also happens to have the largest number of hate groups. So, I'd love to hear from you. A lot of this rests in Trenton and with our Department of Education and funding. So can you maybe talk a little bit about how you would address this? What would be your voice when you get to Trenton to help not only LD 25, but really sort of drive this forward for the rest of the state, because it's becoming a really stark reality of what the kids are enduring, but just the sort of aggregate nature of this, right?
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I mean, I have, this, I have an 8-year-old. She's in 3rd grade. She's virtual right now. Your question is so on point, Toral. COVID has shown a huge spotlight on all the cracks that we have in our community and our society. And to go back to life pre-COVID without fixing these cracks is not just, economically a bad decision, but it's morally and ethically wrong. We need to go back and we need to investigate and we need to find solutions for all these cracks and fix them. Your point about schools, I mean, I remember in the early days of this pandemic, when the teachers, by the way, if there's any teachers here, I mean, hoo-hoo to you. I mean, you can solve any problems in the world. I am so grateful for teachers. The speed at which, they just like flipped the switch and everything went virtual. It just felt like, wow, how did they manage to do that overnight? But that's the power of teachers for you. But when in those pre-days, I remember receiving a lot of emails and even for the start of the school year, if your child doesn't have a laptop or if you don't have an internet connection, or if you need subsidized lunch or you need free lunch, click here or let us know. And, there were these programs providing breakfast and lunch to kids. I'm pretty aware of what goes on in my community, but when I saw all of those things, it was a cruel shock to the system that there are kids who have to go to school for their meals, and that's probably the only meal that they get in the day. There are children who don't have a laptop. I mean, my child has multiple devices, and to think that, there are kids out there who don't have a laptop to go, they can't go virtually to school, or they don't have an internet connection. I mean, you talk about, we have the #1 school systems, but some of these problems, the problem of digital divide, the problem of the lack of food, all of these things are very basic problems. These shouldn't be happening in this country in 2020 at this time. And so, there is a lot that Trenton can do to fix that. #1, I think we do have to fund specific, there have to be specific grants just to ensure that schools have the resources, their devices, there is access to those resources. Comcast, I believe, offers free internet for 3 months, and then it is $9.95. The details are on the website, so for anybody who's looking for resources, you could please feel free to go on my website. It's rupandemehta.com, by the way. And so we need to start making sure that these sort of things are becoming more and more accessible. And from the government perspective, I think for these sort of resources, we can't give loans. You have to give grants, because this is the investment that we need to make in our community to the next generation, to ensure that when they grow up and they go out there in the world, they have the best education, not just the #1 public system, public school system in the country, but also the resources that back them, that push them further on, and that can make them successful. And so, for me, this is a very personal issue, again, because I have a young child as well. And so I am very committed to ensuring that this is well funded. And in terms of, funding, because a lot of times I'm asked the question, well, where's all the money coming from? And I say, this year particularly, we have a huge referendum on the ballot for the marijuana, and the marijuana referendum, which is most likely should pass. And we need to take those sorts of initiatives, think outside the box, really, to try and raise revenue for the state, so we can start investing in some of these areas that have been, ignored for so long.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thoro, would you mind if I ask the question?
Please.
So, Rupande, first of all, thanks again for doing this. We're so excited for you, excited for your campaign. We can't wait for you to win in a couple of weeks and represent us in Trenton. It's going to be fantastic. Now, if I'm not mistaken, there aren't that many state Senate races this year, right? Or
this is the only state Senate race in the state this year. Only one. Yes.
So can you talk about that a little bit? Maybe talk about, the importance of the fact that you are the only state Senate race and sort of what that means.
So sure, let me give you a little bit of background. So last year, the sitting senator for the seat, Tony Bucco, Senator Anthony Bucco, passed away. And because of the timeline of his passing, his son was elevated to his seat. So he's not elected, he's an appointed senator, Bucco Jr. And then it was determined that there would be a special election in 2020. This seat comes up in 2021, which is next year. So whoever wins this year is going to serve out the remaining 14 months only. And then there's an election again next year. So I will see you again next year at the same time, same place. We'll talk again. But this is for the long haul. And it really is not for the faint of hearts when I say that, because assuming I win this year, I'm up again next year, and then I'm up again in 2 years in 2023 once there's redistricting. So, so in terms of the only seat, this is the only state Senate election in the state this year. And I'm running with Darcy Drager, who's running for assembly. When Tony Bucco's assembly seat was vacated, they appointed somebody there, and now that seat is up as well. So, the two of us are the only state level candidates this year. And so, with everything that's happening at the national, by the way, this never happens. This has never happened as far as we can tell in New Jersey's history, where you've had an election, a special election coincide with the presidential race. And so we're hoping that the excitement of what's going on out in, for the presidential race comes down to us, but we're not taking it for granted because we have an active operation. We've been really working very hard every day. We've contacted over 100,000 voters at this point in the district. We are doing a very active digital campaign. We have mailers going out, and we are doing lid drops. So, despite being the only race, we're still working our butt off to ensure that we can cross the finish line in November. Because the one thing that I did learn in 2018 when I ran for freeholder is there may not always be coattails, and it's not a good idea to depend on other people to carry you through. Do your own work and get to the finish line on your own, so you can claim victory for yourself on your own too. But the point being that this is very important. Obviously, all the spotlight is on us. And that being said, we've also received a lot of support from throughout the state. Governor Murphy, Senate President, members of the Senate, of course, Senator Vengopal, SAAC, and so many other organizations that have stepped in and sort of said, you know what, we will work with you on this. We will support you, and we will, we're all behind you, trying to get you to the finish line. So it's been an exciting year. National level politics is definitely helping us, but it also doesn't help, as I was telling Richard earlier when he asked me the question, is that our current senator has just been absent from any real work. And also he refuses to debate me. So that's another point there where we've had a couple of requests from a couple of organizations. I have accepted the request, and I would love to go out there head to head and talk about the issues that matter to the district and the constituents. He refuses to reply.
That seems to be becoming a trend with a lot of Republicans. That's actually going on with the person I'm interning for in California. Her opponent refused to debate her for weeks, and so we just sent out the information like crazy, and now he agreed to it because enough people are aware that he's trying to avoid it. Yeah. So spread the word.
My opponent has a deadline of the 13th, which is next Tuesday, I believe, to accept the debate. So we're hoping he does, because I'd really like to talk about his record on, why he voted against equal pay, why he voted against cancer screenings for women, why he voted against giving prenatals to women, why he voted against, why he voted against discrimination, he voted for discrimination. He voted against COVID bills. Why he voted against vote by mail legislation. I would really love an answer to all of these things, because I think that, the constituents who are going out there who are voting as we speak right now deserve to know where he stands on this and why he voted the way he voted. What is the rationale behind all of these votes? But, he doesn't think it's important.
Those votes actually have a greater impact for the whole state, right? I mean, those are votes that are driving statewide legislation.
Exactly.
So I think you raised some really great points on down ballot, right? And the more we can educate our community, like vote all the way down, please. Flip the ballot over. There are questions there. Please answer them. So the more we can, And I know Kathy has a question, so I want to.
Yeah. So Rupande, I'm so glad you brought up the situation with Bucco and the debate. Is there anything you think we can do to put pressure on him and his, in his campaign? What could we do?
I think amplifying it on social media is probably, a great way. So we issued a press release yesterday. We issued another press release today. We're most likely planning on issuing a press release for the next couple of days, just to put that pressure on him, just to accept it. Because again, like I said, we need an answer. Why are you voting the way you're voting? And what about me is so scary that you won't come face to face? So we'd really like to know all of these things. So if you can amplify that message, I think some of the members of the staff created a hashtag, which is "Where is Buko?"
Where is
And,
Buko?
Yeah, so
Okay.
if you can amplify that
Yes.
message, the more people that do that, he'll see it, and hopefully he'll come and talk to me.
Okay.
There,
So-
Shreya put it in the chat.
Question on the campaign strategy and tactics.
Mhm.
Are you using electronic media? I don't think I've seen many of your ads on Facebook. Maybe
We're not on Facebook, Wasim. We're doing a lot of digital ads. So, stuff like Hulu and Netflix and YouTube and so forth, but you're not going to see any of that because it's very targeted, and it is only to the slice that we are, the universe that we are catering to. So for most people look at me and they go like, "What's going on with your campaign?" I'm like, "There's a lot going on. Trust me, you're just not going to see it." Because if you're not in the district, of course, you're not going to see it. And if you're already in my side, then I'm not going to, try and show you anything, spend money on you to convince you, because you're already convinced.
Definitely. So when I ran for a state senate from District 26, in early days of Facebook, it was easy and just select the city and the towns and etc. And it was not that expensive. I guess it's very expensive now, I hear you.
Right, because it's a
Yes.
presidential year, so there's a lot more. Everything is more expensive this year.
Are you
Unfortunately.
knocking doors because there is a risk of COVID and all that?
We're doing lid dropping. We're not knocking doors. So we just go, we just drop the door hangers so that folks know that I'm running, but we're not talking to anybody. And when we go, we have all PPE, the masks, follow social distancing, all of that good stuff.
Do a radio ad if possible, WNYC or something towards like last few days or something, because many people
Right.
driving car, etc.
Right.
Might be if I perhaps I'm assuming it's not that expensive.
Yeah,
Um,
that's probably a good idea too, because TV ads are very, very expensive. But
right.
just so you guys know, I just went onto Twitter and Jay Weber was saying, "Oh, schools should just reopen in person, no
Yeah.
mention of safety measures." And I tweeted back and said, "Oh, really? Why don't you debate on this issue if you're so sure?" So we'll see what happens.
Right.
Well, thank you. Anyone else have any other questions? Richard, did you say?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay.
There was just one other thing I did want to ask. It's sort of a long-term question because, there are so many issues that go on in New Jersey, between, the pension system, transit, unions, and some things that are going on in public education. But my curiosity is always, you were kind of touching base on this too, the complexity of the administrative structure in public schools. And I think that, especially, I went to a high school that only had 600 kids. I went to Glassboro High School. We had an assistant principal, disciplinarian, and athletic director, and all these different assistants. And I just felt like this is just ridiculous. We don't need this. This is really not a necessary service. But at the same time, a lot of people are fearful that, the answer to it could hypothetically be a 30,000 employee layoff. And that could harm the economy too. And I think there's probably a different answer to this. I mean, do you think that there are any ways that, the administrative structuring in public schools in the state can be done in a way where, we can keep these people employed and, find more efficiency and so forth?
I mean, we have to find efficiency, right? And if that also, that is number one. And then combined with that, we're also looking to reduce people's burden on taxes. Wasim, that's a cutie you have over there with you. So that's definitely number one. And if there's places where these folks can be, sort of redirected towards employment, then obviously that is something we would look at. We don't want to strain anybody. I don't know where the number 30,000 comes from. I feel like, that might be
the number 30,000. I just threw that out.
Oh, you just made it up. Okay, all right, yeah.
I just made it up. I'm not quoting anybody. It's
Okay,
a lot of times when there's this fear of like cost inefficiency and how are we going to fix this, people like freak out. They think layoffs.
Yeah,
And
no, and I think it's a fair point. And one of
Right.
the things that I always talk about is in terms of shared services as well. There's a lot of fear out there about that too, right? It's like, oh, is my garbage going to stay out there for months now? Is nobody going to pick it up? There's like all these sort of nuanced fears that come up when you start talking about trying to change things in a town. But I think that you take small steps and you get more and more people into your circle. You convince more people that this works. And then from there on, you take those bigger leaps. And then from there on, you kind of try and make those bigger, the big picture items come into focus and make them work. So one step at a time, right? But
Yeah.
if you're committed to finding solutions, then I think as you said, in the long term, you will see the rewards for it.
Probably take small steps. There's no one big answer to it.
Exactly.
So I'd like to welcome Commissioner Santhi Nara. Are you there? You are. Okay. I just want to make sure we didn't lose you.
Oh, yay, Santhi.
If there aren't any other questions, and I know Team Mehta and several others have a very hard stop at 7, and cute baby alert. Thank you, Wasim. I'd like to actually ask Commissioner, it's so hard, it's such a behavior change to say that, to please just, say a few remarks, and then maybe Rupande can help with some closing remarks, and then I'll just close it out. Commissioner, I'm telling you, every time I say that, it's very strange. I'm sure it's strange for you to hear it too.
I know, and nobody really understands it yet, but it's official on January 1st, but we're starting to use it in Middlesex because we've been supportive of the change of the name for a long time. So hello, everyone. Hi, Rupande, and I'm sorry I couldn't join you all earlier, but I got appointed to the New Jersey Transit Board in the summer, and I was meeting with environmental advocates who want to talk about stopping the proposed fracked gas power plant microgrid project that New Jersey Transit is contemplating in Kearney. So most of the people I was meeting with are all from North Jersey, and I'm a Central Jersey gal. So I guess part of the reason why anybody would want to invite me to speak on behalf of Rupande is a couple reasons. One, we're both original board members of ISA, Inspiring South Asian American Women, and Rupande, now that she's running, stepped off the board, and but many of us board members are very supportive of her, and because of why we started the group, which is to get more South Asian women involved in civics, in their local communities, in their states, but also because I am currently the most senior South Asian American woman in New Jersey politics. I'm hoping that that'll change on November 3rd. I'm more than happy to step aside and let Rupande take that honor, and then I'll just become the oldest South Asian American woman in politics in New Jersey, and that's okay too. But I am extremely thrilled about the opportunity to have a South Asian woman in the state legislature. It is a long time coming. With all due respect to my political brothers, Raj Mukherjee and Vin Gopal, I think we can't have enough women in the state legislature, and we are woefully underrepresented there as a gender. And we certainly need to have more brown-skinned women and somebody from our community, because I'll just say it, there was an article that was written a number of years ago, and it was titled The Brownification of New Jersey. And the fact is, our demographics have changed so tremendously. I've been a resident of New Jersey since 1973. I live in the same house that I grew up in, and the change that we have experienced in New Jersey, I mean, we came here when there was no Oak Tree Road in Edison. The temple we went to was originally was the Pittsburgh Temple. And then we started going to the temple in Queens. And that's what we did. Every week we would go to the temple in Queens and do our grocery shopping on Canal Street. And that's all we had. And so I know what New Jersey was like before there was a significant South Asian population. And now when you see the numbers of mosques and temples and, even Buddhist temples, and the stores and the shops and the businesses, and then just the sheer number of people from our community who are in schools and occupy every part of this state, it is almost a crime that we don't occupy seats in government. So I will just say to all of you, I assume most of you are all here because you are supporters of Rupande. And if you're not, I'm sure this hour that you spent with her have made you decide to become supporters, but I would encourage you all to reach out to your communities. I'm not in more, obviously I'm from Middlesex County, but you know, I am reaching out to anyone I know in Morris County to get this woman elected, because it's not just because she's a South Asian woman. That's cherry on top, right? And it should be the cherry on top for all of us, but it's because she's a Democrat. She represents the values that I think really epitomize our party, right? And our very large tent party. And I know the things that she cares about, whether it's the education of our children, whether it's environmental issues, whether it's like a new and better economy based on like green jobs and innovation. So I don't want to take too much more time because I want you guys to hear a little bit from Rupande before she has to go. But I will tell you this, there's a lot of excitement among South Asians all around the state about the opportunity to get a really strong, smart, vibrant woman from our community into the state Senate. It would be amazing. And I really, really look forward to congratulating her on November 3rd, because I think we'll get those results in. You know, we may be waiting on other results, but we'll get those results in on that night. And I so look forward. I'm going to, whatever the date is, I'm going to be down in Trenton watching her get sworn in, and I hope many of you will make that trek down also. So
Thank you, Commissioner. We really appreciate you hopping in. Rupande, we'd love to have some closing remarks from you.
Oh, that was Commissioner Nara. That was beautiful. Thank you. I learned a lot about politics when I joined ISAW, and it's partly because of all the teachings that you've given there. You, along with, of course, Kathy and Toral and everybody, are, you know, you're in that formation group for me, of me learning politics in New Jersey. So, you know, I'm very grateful for all of that. Speaking of voting, my ballot just arrived, so this is very exciting. Here is my ballot, and there I am. And this is I wish they had a sample ballot, because this is something to be framed. To see my name in the same line as Senator Harris is quite monumental. It actually gives me goosebumps, because it's just, I never thought that, you know, a brown Black woman would be on the ballot, and I would be on the ballot with her. I mean, woof, that's, you know, quite special. So I said earlier, there's one party that's trying to keep us alive and the other party that really doesn't care about where you are. And it's not just alive in terms of COVID. I think alive in terms of vibrancy, alive in terms of diversity, alive in terms of what it really means to be American. You know, I always talk about my story, not just only because I'm proud of it, but I'm also because I want folks to know that, you know, it happens here. This is the country where you can come from another country just 18 years ago and run for a state level office. That you can be a brown woman in a predominantly white district and get good reception and get people excited about your candidacy and get the support that you need. And that does not happen everywhere. It happens in this country because we are in the best country. We are in a country where, you know, your skin color and your race and your religion and your hair and all of these things, they don't matter. What matters is what you bring to the forefront and how you can take charge and how you can you can represent what your values really are. So I am deeply privileged to get this opportunity and to run for this seat. And you know, I always say, win or lose, I'm not going anywhere. I'm sticking around, but preferably, you know, win, because there's just so much work that we all need to do. And to have myself surrounded by such gorgeous, amazing women leaders like they're on this call, is I'm excited about that. I'm excited about the day when we all sit together in a room and we say, all right, what do we do now and how do we get it done? Because we know we get it done. We know we can do things. And so I am, you know, I'm excited for the future, because the way I look at it, you know, although we're going through some really dark times right now, the future is endless. The possibilities are endless, and it's bright and it's beautiful, not just for us, but for our children and our grandchildren and for the future of this great country. So I want to thank Toral, my dear friend Toral, for doing this. You're such an inspiration to me. Thank you for everything that you do. And Afshin, thank you so much for working so hard with the Muslim Caucus and all these other amazing things. I can't even list them, that you do, and still putting together this event and joining us and giving me a little bit of time to talk about my candidacy. I'm very grateful for your time. I'm very grateful for your commitment towards our community and the fight that you fight every single day. So thank you for having me here.
Thank you, Rupande. And very quick plug, thank you for everybody and for staying with us this hour. Campaigns take resources. They need resources. They need money, and they need bodies and labor and time. So we really want to encourage everybody, please. So many of you already volunteering. Awesome. I think anyone else who has an hour to give, has $50 to give, maybe weekly for the next few weeks, you know, please, let's dig deep. You know, that's the reality of campaigns. So I think those are important points that we want to end on, because this dialogue is incredibly important and great, but let's also recognize what it will take to bring Rupande over that finish line over the next 26 days. We got a lot to do. And I would just say, Rupande, you may want to call your clerk, if they're friendly, maybe they'll give you a ballot that they have, so you have one to keep. But thank you, everybody. Thank you, Kathy and Milan and Afshin and Shreya, Ritesh, Wasim, Kin, Commissioner. We're so grateful. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
We have a few more power hours coming up for SAAC, so please hit up our Facebook page. We have one tomorrow with Senator Booker, and next week with Congresswoman Cheryl. So we would love to have you all come back and join those conversations as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye-bye.